What's up, my Makokos, Raid Pros, and Bonk Bros? I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Defender here, and welcome back to another video. Happy Halloween, and if you're watching this afterwards, I guess I'm just wearing a Chewbacca onesie for nothing and just look a little bit weird, but we'll just move on past that. So today we're going to talk about the Destroyer balance patch changes that are coming to us in November. So we're officially into November when you're watching this video, I would assume, and so that means that any moment we're going to get the information about when we're going to have this update land, and you want to be ready for this change because Destroyer is getting some huge buffs. Okay, now generally speaking across the board, the changes are all positive. There are big changes to gravity training. So if you're not playing that build and you want to try it out, it's definitely going to be viable. But Rage Hammer is also getting some buffs. Whether or not it was intended, I'm not sure. But because of the gravity training changes, Rage Hammer is also improving. And I want to go through those changes today so that you can prepare for the tripod changes, maybe your accessories, your build changes, so that you're ready with November's update. Because afterwards, the prices could start to skyrocket, okay? So let's get straight into the video and we'll discuss all the changes that are coming. But before we get into today's video, you guys know the drill with YouTube. If you like the video and you appreciate the content, please consider dropping me a subscribe. Let me know down in the comments down below if there's any ways that I can improve the video, or if I've got something wrong maybe, or maybe you just want to share your opinions on the matter. I always appreciate hearing from you guys. Your feedback's incredible. I'm taking on board everything you guys are saying, and I try and communicate with you guys as much as possible in the comments down below. And so yeah, if you like the content, please consider doing any of those. I'd really appreciate your support. We're going to keep growing as a community, and I want to keep delivering amazing content to you guys. But anyway, let's get straight into the video. Enjoy. All right, so happy festivities. Let's get straight into the Destroyer content because it's a lot of changes, okay? So bear with me as we translate some of the information because I have some botched translations and I'm making the information the best I can from what I've got. But essentially, the first thing I want to talk about is that we're getting some huge tripod changes. Okay, so across the board, a lot of your release skills, the purple skills, are becoming gauge friendly. Okay, so gauge for your gravity training, if you're a new player or maybe you haven't tried gravity training, gauge is everything, right? You want to get into your gauge mode as much as possible because it allows you to do your most damage, right? Your engraving for this increases its damage by 20%, the crit rate by 30%, and you're now also going to be adding some synergy to it with the changes. So you want to get your gauge leveled up as fast as possible, right? It's a specialization based class, gravity training, and it's important that you get that gauge as quick as possible. So Smilegate have noticed that the gauge was lacking and they're changing everything to be more in line with that. So all of the important release skills are all having a change to gain additional gauge for each core you use. And I'll share on screen with you some of the screenshots that I've taken. We translated it roughly just to let you guys understand some of the actual changes that we're seeing. But what we have here is, so we have the full swing is having a gauge tripod, and that increases the amount you generate. It's going to be a good option. Full swing is probably one of the best options, I believe, just off of the theory crafting to generate gauge. So that's going to be a must in the gravity training build. Perfect swing also has one. But whether or not it's worth it or not, I don't know. We're going to have to test that with the release. I don't have a Korean client, so I can't test yet. But I believe the boss weak point damage is probably still going to be superior in the long run. Okay, and then we also have Earth Eater. Earth Eater's one is really viable as well. It doesn't necessarily conflict with some of the other tripods, so it could be worth running. Seismic Hammer has an option for it as well, which is really good. Seismic Hammer is also having a damage buff, so they're not going to conflict, so that's fantastic. We can run both of those. And then we have Earthwave, the newest skill, right? And Earthwave is a change from the previous skill called One Man Army. I'll show you guys what One Man Army is over here currently on the Western client, but it's a skill that nobody was using, okay? And it wasn't really that fun anyway in the first place, so I can understand the change to it. And Earthwave is going to be replacing this, and these are the tripods that we're going to like. This is going to be the gravity gauge generation tripod. Okay, so if you want to mark that for tracking now, anything you store in the tripod change will become Earthwave. Okay, and this one is also going to be good for damage, and these two are kind of up to you to change for based on utilities. So one is movement based and the other is kind of like a precision based. But I'll do a full video with the build when the update hits. Okay, but so those are the release skills that are going to be really, really good for Gravity Gauge. I'll put the screenshots up so you can see which ones to track. And then also talking about the changes to tripods, Seismic Hammer is getting a huge buff, okay? Right now, the best options for you would probably either Quick Prep or Tenacity in the first tier, just for quality of life. This one at the moment reduces damage that you take, but with the Korean November patch update we're going to be getting, it's going to change to up to 40% damage that you do. So this is going to be the best in slot tripod that we want, and so make sure that you're marking that to track now, and that you store that in your tripod vault inventory so that it's automatically learned. And essentially, that's going to be the best in slot option to run on your level 1, but the rest of it isn't going to change, so you don't have to worry about the tier 2 and 3 tripods. Okay, just make sure that you get this first one done and marked. And then if we talk about Perfect Swing, I'll put up a screenshot of the patch note for Perfect Swing, but Perfect Swing is getting a big change. It might not seem big, but actually what it means is, so right now you have this animation, okay, and you see the damage there. But actually, if we were to stand closer and we do it, you're going to see 2 instances of damage. You get the shoulder check and then the main hit, okay? But the first instance of damage is now being removed, okay? That bump, the shoulder bump as they called it, is being removed from the animation, so you're not doing that damage anymore. It's all just into one individual hit at the end, the actual kind of clink, the contact of the hammer. The animation has a small change as well so that you can see that better, and actually is going to be really good because it's also roughly, as they say, it's 6.8% damage increase overall with the Intemperance tripod, which is what you'll be running in your Rage Hammer build. Okay, your Intemperance one here, that is increasing the overcharge damage and also reducing the charge time, so it's huge. But also, we're also getting a change to Hour of Slaughter. Hour of Slaughter was the instant cast version that you run maybe in PvP or in Chaos Gates. And essentially, what that does is it releases a wave of damage that moves out after you swing. That's being removed. That wave is no longer in the animation. And what they've done instead is they've made it so that the damage that the gravitational wave does is now just put into the actual hit itself. And also it does the overcharge damage that Intemperance has as well. So quite a big buff to that one. And I believe if you're running gravity training, that this might now be the best option for you. If you're looking to cycle through your release skills and get into hypergravity mode as quick as possible. Okay, so you haven't got to run supercharge in your gravity training build, and you're looking to just get that animation out as quick as possible. You're doing the same overcharge damage, you're just losing out on the supercharge damage that you would have with the supercharge engraving. So I think that might be viable for gravity training. We'll play around with it when it's released, but just bear in mind, if you're not tracking that and you're interested in gravity training, it might be worth tracking it now and saving something for it. But that's just my take for now. Okay, and then we'll get into the changes to the hypergravity and gravity training in general. The hypergravity mode, as I showed you before, you're in this mode here, okay, and you have an auto attack, okay, that speeds up the more you do it, and you also have your Z ability, which does a pull-in ability that pulls in mobs that aren't immune to pull and push back. And what's going to change with this is you're going to now be applying with every hit your group synergy, which is called defense down, which is armor destruction, and you'd get that in your abilities normally. You'd apply it here, okay, and that would give you 12% physical and magical decrease against the enemy, and that is a destroyer's synergy that it brings to the group. Okay, and obviously it lasts a lot longer on some of your other abilities, but what's going to happen is, when you're in this mode, every hit you do is going to apply that buff for 3 seconds. And as you see, every attack is getting quicker and quicker and quicker. So it's going to be constantly applied to the boss. Huge synergy, quality of life change. And it's also going to be viable in Rage Hammer. So say you're using your hyper mode, hypergravity for utility. So you want to maybe avoid some mechanics, or you're using it to give you a shield for moving around, utility, whatever it might be. Or just to survive certain CCs, you can now keep up that defense down synergy as well. So it's just a nice quality of life to bring to the synergy for the group. I think that's a huge change. And obviously with that being changed, it means that if you're running gravity training, spirit absorption now has even more utility and more benefit to you, because you're going to be constantly applying that defense down even quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, and getting more attacks in. Which also brings me on to the change they're bringing in for gravity training, where every third hit that you do in this mode is going to release a like a gravity lightning effect. So we do 1, 2, 3, and the third one there, every time you do 3, is going to release like a shock damage, which does 30% of your normal hit in that mode. So see here, just for example, I was hitting for 2.5 million. That it would hit for a third of that base, which is what, approximately 800,000, 850,000 every third hit. And you're getting in quite a lot of hits, because every time you hit, you're speeding up. Okay, so getting in what, approximately somewhere between 20 and 30 hits at least in this mode, which is huge. So you're adding in an extra 10 instances of damage, and the more damage you do, obviously the more that's adding in. So fantastic change. Let me talk about Terra. Terra is your awakening skill that you would use in gravity training, and this one's more desirable because it gives you gauge generation. Okay, you don't get gauge generation in Big Bang, so you don't really use that in gravity training. And Terra is the big one to gain gauge. So let's save that, and we'll show you quickly. So you look at the gauge right now. Right now, this animation is really, really slow, as you can see. It's not safe to use in a lot of instances. It does give you super armor, but it's also very static and directional. Once you're facing that way, you're fixed. The animation is speeding up a lot quicker, so it's going to be more desirable to use. They're making it look a bit smoother as well, so it doesn't feel as clunky. And then if we move on to the engraving itself, which is the big one, gravity training is getting a big change. Okay, so at the moment, what it does is it generates your gauge over time. Whether or not that's a good thing, it's changing completely now, so that instead of generating over time, you're just getting 70% improved generation from core releases on your release skills. Okay, so whenever you're releasing cores with this release skills, the purple skills, it's increasing the generation you would get by 70%, which makes those gauge generation tripods extremely viable and kind of a must if you're running this spec. Okay, that means you can get back into your mode quicker. It's probably going to take you somewhere between 2 and 3 abilities to get back into hypergravity mode, which is why I think the quicker we can get these abilities off, the better it will be. I'll play around with that when it's released, though, so you guys can see. And what does that mean, though, for gravity training as a whole? Will it be viable now? Is it still subpar? Is it worth changing everything over to that from Rage Hammer? Well, my personal take on it, obviously it's too soon to say, but I think the Koreans have noticed that Rage Hammer is still superior, and that's just because of its flexibility. It's very versatile, it's very mobile compared to gravity training. It has a higher damage ceiling, just because of supercharge and your gravity release skills being so hard, they hit so hard, and also just because when you're in hypergravity mode, right, you're very slow to move around. If you see, I'm very slow to move around, and I have to start again with the speed build up of my attacks. Okay, if I then start again, I'm losing out on that potential DPS, the maximum potential attack speed that I gain from being in that mode every time something moves or I have to readjust to get front attacks. Okay, whereas Rage Hammer actually, you know, because it's releasing its skills a lot quicker, it can reposition itself a lot quicker for each attack, and some of them actually have some movement built into them, so you can kind of position yourself to move into a front attack. Overall, though, really good changes. I know in Korea right now they're doing some damage testing. There's some hypothetical testing that's showing Destroyer is very high on the list. I believe it's in the top 3 for like 8-second, 12-second damage passes, you know, for the spike in potential. So it's looking really good. And these damage changes are going to really push Destroyer up into, you know, a much higher damage potential in group. Better synergy for the group for both builds, doesn't matter which one you run because of the defense down changes. And yeah, quality of life changes as well. And we're going to see some new animations. So I think all around, these are huge changes for Destroyer. And if you're playing this class and you're on the defense which way you want to go, both of them are going to be extremely viable. I think both are going to be extremely fun now. But I think if you really want to do the best that you can in a group, Rage Hammer is going to be the way to go. And it's also it's also less penalizing to you, right? So you're going to receive less harsher penalties for mistakes. Whereas gravity training, you know, if you're in your hypergravity mode and the boss moves or you make a positional mistake, you're really penalized for your damage potential. You might be able to get back into it again very quickly and feel less of that penalization. But I think as a whole, those variables really affect its damage potential being up there as the top. So I would still say stick with Rage Hammer, but obviously we'll be testing both when they're both released. And on day one, I'll have a video up for everyone to check out both builds. And I'll put some infographics up so you can check out the build ideas over on my Twitter. So if you're not following my Twitter already, go check that out. I'll put infographics up for the builds that we're playing. Just a quick way for new players or maybe players that want to move into the raids to check out the best kind of build options with rotations, tripods, etc., etc. And lastly, we're going to be putting out a video in this upcoming week with all the tripod options to track for every single class and every single engraving for the big tripod upgrade coming in November. So make sure that you get your classes stored tripods in the inventory so that they're ready to be maximized when the update hits, so they're automatically learned and your character's got maximum tripods. If you haven't done that already, it's very, very important. I've got a quick video explaining how you can do it for any class. If you haven't checked that out already, I'll link it in the description and I'll put it up on screen now. If you haven't already, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to cover in today's video. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support recently. We're growing ridiculously fast. I can't tell you how grateful I am for all the comments, the interactions, the support. I can't wait to keep bringing content to you guys. If you have any questions about these changes, let me know. I'll link the upcoming patch details in the description below so you can check out some other changes to some other classes if you didn't know. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.